I am so happy to see you all here. This is our third live stream of the week, third of 4, which is a certain kind of insanity that has taken me over that we are doing this together. But of course, this is a very, very special day. And this is a very important day, a day that we've been talking about for a while. And I am excited to experience this day with you. This is also a little bit of a stressful day because this is the day that we have set aside to get to our minimum funding goal. And I'm going to talk more about that a little bit later as people here are trickling in. Hello, Betsy. Hello, Jane. Good afternoon to you as well. Deborah, we're so glad that you joined us. People are just starting to come in. This is a little bit earlier than the last live stream we did, so we're grateful that you were able to make the time. All right, let's get to it here. On the agenda for this evening, we have a very, very special guest, a gentleman that you have only heard a little bit from in the pitch video, and that is producer Orlando J. Gomez. He is basically my right-hand man on the shift, and you haven't really heard from him too much. And so I'm very excited to introduce you to Orlando. Orlando is somebody that I have known since the shift began, and we're going to tell that story of how we got involved with each other and how he got involved with the film. This is Kamalani. I hope I pronounced your name right. Good afternoon to you as well. Today is the 9th. Yes, prayer hands, and we're going to talk more about why that's a special day in just a second. But Orlando is somebody who has an extensive background in film, and he's somebody who is very important to this project, who believes passionately in this project. And I can't wait for you to hear his passion. To hear from somebody who isn't me, that's going to be a bonus, I think, for everyone. But he is somebody that you're going to get to know a lot more. So this is the first time. This is the first time you get to see him. This is far, far from the last time. Because Orlando is just that important to the shift and to the project. The other thing we're going to be doing a little bit tonight is talking about some behind-the-scenes stuff. One of the things that I tend to do on these live streams is I tend to tell stories. And, with a project like the shift, something that has been in the works for quite a while, and something that is kind of the culmination of a lot of different experiences and different things that I've been working on for years. There's a lot of different influences and a lot of different stories to tell. And the story I'm going to tell tonight at a certain point is a hard one to tell. It's different than the story you may be thinking of that I have told in the past, that I told twice yesterday during both live streams. But there's a particular theme of the feature film that we're going to be getting into tonight, and that theme is waiting on the Lord. That is a very strong theme in the feature film, and I think a strong theme in all of our lives, if we think about it. It seems that we are always waiting on the Lord, whether it's for an answer, whether it's for His blessing, whether it is just, so we can have that really cool car that we want. Hopefully that's not a strong prayer you're making. But there are lots of times when we are waiting on the Lord, and His timing is not our timing, and so there's a wait that's involved. I'm going to be talking more about that tonight and some of the waits that I've had and how that's influenced and impacted what we're doing with the shift. Hello, Nancy. Hello, Andrea. Welcome. Very, very glad to have you. You guys are excited to meet Orlando. I'm very glad to hear that. Okay. So, one other thing as we're getting started here, I want you to share. Please share this live stream with everybody you know. We want to get this live stream out there. For some people, maybe it'll be their first time checking out the shift. I don't plan on showing the full short tonight. That's not on the agenda. However, if I hear there's a number of people who are coming to this for the first time and for some reason they're watching this with us right now and they want to see it, I'd be more than happy to put it on. I can do that. But if you're here for a watch party, that's not quite what this is, but I can be convinced. It's up to you to convince me. All right. Looks like our moderator is standing by as well. He'll be messaging me with anything important. We welcome your questions tonight, so please send those our way or into the chat, and then the moderator will be sure that they get over to me. And one other note about sharing. Please do not share in the Chosen Fan Club. We have had some complaints. We just want to be respectful of that club. Obviously, Dallas and his team are very important to us. We want to keep relations good. So let's not share there, but everywhere else, faith groups, movie groups, anywhere else you'd like to share this stream, please do so. We would love to be able to reach them. In fact, what I'm going to do right now is I am going to share this on my personal page right now so that all of my friends can see it. Well, I'm going to try to anyway. I never have actually tried doing this. I'm getting a note from our moderator that personal posts in the Chosen fan club are okay. It's just the streams that we don't want to share. So if you feel like there's something that the Shift has to offer to fans of the Chosen, then that's okay. But let's not share the live stream. Let's stay out of there for right now. And I am now posting on my pages. This is a good time while I'm doing this and totally boring you for you to share this on your Facebook pages. Join us, please, and start. Great. Okay, so now all of my friends who I'm sure are not sick of hearing about the Shift at all are now going to hear about it even more. And it looks like that popped me into a new window. So now I can't quite see all of your comments, so I got to pop back into that. Sorry, this is live. I'm troubleshooting as we go, having never done this before. It's a little bit of a challenge. Okay, got that all squared away. Now I can see all of you lovely people again. Okay, all right. So let's talk about our last live stream. We did have 2 watch parties this week. We revealed a never-before-revealed secret, which was Kevin's prayer. When you watch the Shift, you cannot hear the full text of Kevin's prayer. It's obscured by Satan. It's obscured by the sound design. It's obscured by the music. You can hear some of it, bits and pieces, but you can't hear the full thing. So yesterday, I shared with you the full text of that prayer, which was written and given to the actor, and he did perform it. Tomorrow night, we're going to be doing another live stream, and I'm going to be talking more about the prayer. Probably going to repeat that text and talk about how we filmed it. It was kind of tricky. When you have 2 actors talking over each other, you have to be kind of creative about how you film that. And so we'll talk about how we were able to achieve that while still getting great performances out of both of our actors. Let's see. As far as news goes, recent news, we just hit 4,600 likes on Facebook. That's amazing. Just a few weeks ago, we were down below 1,000. So the Shift is getting out there more and more, and that's largely due to you. We also have a Shift fan club now that is on Facebook. You can search it. You can find it very easily. That was started by Jenna Sue Bennett. We are so grateful to her and all of the fans that are organizing as our Shifty soldiers. It's so hard for me to say that. And so if you would like to be part of the fan club, please go ahead and look up the Shift fan club on Facebook and join. How is that different from liking the page? It's simple. The Shift fan club is where people who really are motivated and really dedicated to getting the word out about the Shift. It's where I can communicate with you personally about maybe some strategies and things that we're trying to do. For example, today I posted a post about how important September 9th is, which we're going to talk about in just a second. And I asked all of our Shifty soldiers to go ahead and share that out to everyone, and they were able to do that. And then it's also a place where you'll see some fan art and just some conversations. People like you who are fans of the Shift talking about the Shift. That's what the fan club's about. I'm sure that Jenna or somebody from the fan club is with us right now. Perhaps they could put a link to the fan club in the comments so that people can jump on and become members. Gerald, welcome. You just joined us. And Dave, my friend Dave from way back. Dave is living in Japan right now. He is joining us all the way from Japan. Thank you, Dave. Glad to have you. All right. Other announcements that you may have missed, but probably not because I talk about them so much, is that we have Dan Hasseltine and Matt Nelson on board as the composers for the Shift. They, of course, are the composers for The Chosen as well. And both of them, you may be familiar with them from their work over the years with Jars of Clay. Dan, most significantly, as the singer-songwriter of Jars of Clay. They have read the Shift script. They saw the short film. I got those backwards, but you understand what I'm saying. And they believe that this is a film that is worthy of their talents, which is completely and utterly mind-blowing to me. Looks like we're not quite live on YouTube yet. Not sure what's going on with that. Hopefully that can get cleared up. Maybe our moderators can fix that. Hopefully the YouTube people know to come over to Facebook. See, we got a question here that I just caught. In the chat, Deborah asks, can I give some money instead of having to give my social security number in order to invest? Deborah, that's a great question, and it's a question that we get not infrequently. The sad answer is that no, we can only accept investment right now. The investment is fully regulated by the SEC, and it took us a year to set it up. And so this is the way. Okay, I'm seeing we are live on YouTube. That's great. It's just not showing up on my YouTube, which is fine, and that's fine. The moderator will tell me what's going on YouTube if I need to know about it. Yeah, so investment is really the only way that we can accept money right now. And as far as Social Security number goes, I understand that there is a concern there. People do not like to give out their Social Security number. But what I want to tell you is this about that, is that is not information that we want, nor is it information that VidAngel Studios saves. That information is required by Prime Trust, which is the escrow agent for our investment, and they use it to verify your identity in compliance with federal banking regulations. And again, VidAngel Studios does not save that information. So that's just because we are offering securities. The Social Security number is how the bank verifies that you are who you say you are. It is not information we care about. It is not information that we want. It is not information that we save. So, you know, if you still feel like, hey, I can't do that, that's okay. I understand. We understand. But we would love to partner with you and hope you'll consider doing it anyway. Any other questions about that, please hit me up right now, and I will answer them. Of course, the other big news we have is that Dallas Jenkins has joined the shift as our executive producer. And we are so very excited to have Dallas. Dallas, of course, is the creator of The Chosen, and I know that you've heard me talk about this a lot. If anybody is joining us and is just hearing that for the first time, let's check out what Dallas has to say about it. This is a very short video, but I think Dallas's words are important. He talks about why the shift is important to him and why he's on board. Let's check that out.
Hey there, I'm Dallas Jenkins. I'm the creator of The Chosen, and I wanted to share with you a little bit of why I have actually signed on to be one of the executive producers of The Shift. I remember when I first saw the short film, The Shift, it was probably a couple years ago, and I remember thinking to myself, I don't know who this person is who made this, and I had heard that they did it for no money. But I'm really impressed, and I believe that this guy has a future. And I wanted to see more. I wanted to see where the shift turned out. I wanted to see how it could be expanded upon. I wanted to see what Brock could do with an actual budget. So the shift now has a relatively small budget. They're really keeping the budget low, and that's one of the things I'm trying to do, is help them maximize the budget that they do have and making sure that every penny that we spend is spent in the best and most efficient way possible, which is one of the things that I hope, if you've seen The Chosen, you've realized we did there too, was we didn't have Hollywood money, but we had enough to make something special. And I think that's what Brock has now. I think he's going to get, and I hope you can help him get, enough to make something special. And I think the message of the shift and the future of the shift is so important. And almost as important as any of that is Brock Heasley. He didn't ask me to say this, I promise. But I can tell you, I've seen his work on a writing side. I've seen it on the directing side. And in my 20 years in the business, there are very few people who I've thought, I want to pour into this person because I think that this person has the chance to be an impactful and disruptive and important storyteller in this business. And that is Brock. Brock is someone who, when I read what he's writing, I'm connected to it. And I want to see more, and I want to be part of it. And it reaches me on both an intellectual level and an emotional level. And if you've seen The Chosen, maybe that's what you've appreciated about it as well, is that it's not just pure emotion. It's emotion that has some thought behind it, but it's also not pure intellect. It's intellect that has some heart behind it. And all of that is, there's kind of an umbrella over all of it of a spiritual importance. Something is being said about our universe and who created it.
You are nothing. That I may be nothing. Tomorrow.
I am greater than God.
Jesus
Christ.
And that's what the shift is about. That's what The Chosen is about. It's one of the reasons why I've signed on board, and I hope you can get involved as well to be part of the beginning of what I believe is an important project and who I believe is an important filmmaker.
Hey, this is Brock. I hope you'll partner with us by backing the project at studios.vidangel.com/theshift. We only have until September 30th to get our full funding, and we can't do it without you. All right, that was Dallas Jenkins, the creator of The Chosen, talking about why he has joined The Shift as our executive producer and why he believes in it. It's a humbling thing to hear Dallas say those things about me. I can almost scarcely believe it. You're going to have to forgive me. The gardeners just showed up, and our dogs don't like the gardeners, so you're going to possibly hear some noise tonight. That should go away soon, so I apologize for that. Okay, so let's talk about today. Today is our most important day so far for investment. There is no more important day than right now, September 9th. We have a goal, an eventual goal of hitting $1 million by September 30th. That's an ambitious goal in and of itself. But there's another goal right now that's very, very important. And it's an important goal for us to hit in order to get all the way to that million. And that goal is to hit our minimum funding goal of $93,000 tonight. That's ambitious. Let's look at where we are right now. Just for a second here. I want to have accurate and up to the minute. I'm going to reload this. Okay, we are sitting at $77,246 with 221 investors. That is what we are currently looking at. That means we have about a $16,000 gap right now. Can we clear that gap tonight? Is that possible? That's what I'm setting as a goal tonight. That is an incredibly ambitious goal. If we actually hit $16,000 in investment during this live stream, which, by the way, if it happens, we will shout you out. If we actually hit that during this live stream, that would be far and above anything we've ever done during any other live stream. Is it possible? Of course it is. With God, all things are possible. And so it's really down to him and what he wants to do and what's on your heart and what you decide to do. But why is it so important for us to get to $93,000 tonight? Why is that so important? Because, and I'm going to be very, very honest with you and very upfront with you, and I'm happy to answer any further questions you have about this. The reason is because we are almost out of money. We are spending money in order to get the shift to you. Excuse me. Why am I covering? There's nobody else in here. If you've seen the shift in the last few weeks, there's about a 99% chance that was because of an ad. Because either somebody shared it with you because they saw it in an ad, or we just got it to you somehow with a Facebook or Instagram ad and you watched the shift and now you're curious about it. Ads on Facebook cost money. There is a spend that is associated with getting the shift in front of you. We have been spending money in order to do that, but we only have so much money to get to the $93,000. Why is the 93 important? It's because once we hit 93, we can actually use that money. We can take money out of the fund and continue our ad spend. And we can continue it at such a rate that we can get it all the way to $1 million. This is just me trying to just be very transparent with you and tell you what we're doing. Without the additional money, and we can't pull that money until we hit 93. That minimum is set at a level that we can't pull it until we get to that. So it's very important that we get to that level. I hope I'm explaining this well. Once we get there, then we can spend the money, and then we can get it out to everyone. You're still investing in the film. We're just using the money to get the additional money that we need. With only 3 weeks after tonight to go to get to the $1 million, we need to maximize our time as much as possible. So if we can get to 93 tonight, then we have 3 weeks to get to $1 million. If we don't get there tonight, and we get there maybe early next week, then that's that much less time we have in order to get to $1 million. So that's why it's so important. That's why investment right now is such a big deal. That's why tonight is such a big deal. We have got to move this campaign to the next level. and we only have so much more money to spend at the level we're currently at. So that's my transparency to you right now. That's what that's my message tonight, is that tonight is so crucial. Tonight is the September 9th minimum deadline. We've got to hit it so that we can be as effective as possible as we get to $1 million. Again, if anything I have said is confusing, if you have any questions about that, please hit us up in the chat, and I will answer to the best of my ability, and hopefully with more clarity than I just did just now. This is a big thing. This is a big deal that we're doing, and I want to be as clear with people, and I want them to be as confident in investing and partnering with us as possible. That's really my goal tonight, is to make you confident in this, to get you to understand how much we care and how much we are trying to do right by you and by this movie. Okay. So tonight's goal is $93,000. We are far away from that, but it's still possible. We believe there are people out there who probably want to invest quite a bit, and that will. That happened with The Chosen. We believe that will happen with us. We would love to see it happen tonight. Okay, so let's review recent investments. They've been coming in today and since our last live stream, and I just want to shout out some people who invested recently for whom we are so grateful. Shout out to Cynthia in New Jersey, who partnered with us for $100. Thank you, Cynthia. Shout out to Mike in Utah, who partnered with us for $1,000. And if that is the Mike that I think it is, this is Mike's second investment with us. Mike, we are so grateful to you and to anyone who comes back and puts more in to help us reach our goal. It means so much when that kind of faith and that kind of support is poured into this. Thank you, Deborah, who partnered with us for $150. Thank you so much. Anne in Iowa partnered with us for $1,000. Thank you so much, Anne. And Kat in Illinois, who partnered with us for $100. Thank you, Kat. And Jane in California. Love California. That's where I live. It's on fire right now, but California is pretty great. Jane in California partnered with us for $100. Thank you so much, Jane. If there are anybody else who wants to invest while we're talking to you, we have support staff that's on standby that's ready to call you up if necessary and help you out. You just have to let us know, and we can do that. I can also answer any questions here live. We are here to help you as much as we can, and of course, we would love to shout you out as you invest. And if you don't want that, that's fine. Just send us a message and let us know that you don't want to shout out. You can do that privately on our Facebook page. Okay, so what are we investing in? Let's watch something that some of you may have seen before, but we have a video that we put together that talks about the feature film. And I'd love for this to generate some questions, if anybody has any questions about the feature film. After we watch this video, I'm going to bring on our special guest, producer Orlando J. Gomez. So Orlando, if you're listening, get ready. It's almost your time. And you're finally going to talk to somebody who isn't me. So that's exciting for everyone. All right, let's check out this video. This is what the feature film is all about. This is what the investment is all about. Hi, my name is Brock Heasley, and I'm the writer and director of The Shift. First of all, thank you for watching. I was inspired to make this short film after thinking about all the stories in fiction of a person facing off against the devil. I'd never seen a character handle that in the way that I would as a Christian, which is simply to pray. Quiet faith in the face of great darkness and temptation. And now, in partnership with VidAngel Studios, you and I, we have a chance to expand the story of The Shift by turning it into a feature film. If there's one thing everyone always asks me about The Shift, it's this. What happens next? What happens after Satan is defeated and Kevin walks out the door? The answer is a lot. And my team and I are ready to bring that larger story to life.
My name is Orlando J. Gomez, and I'm a producer on The Shift. The team we've assembled has worked on films for the big studios, including sound designer Brandon Jones, who worked on films like The Gallows, Transformers: The Last Night, Christopher Robin, and A Quiet Place. Now, we're ready to bring our talents to a film that more closely aligns with our faith.
My name is Kyle Jentz, and I am the director of photography for The Shift. Christian viewers are smart, and we deserve intelligent, beautiful entertainment that speaks to our values and does not condescend. Kevin's dramatic journey of faith is going to look incredible.
We're planning for a theatrical release and national and international streaming distribution. Reaching our budget goal will allow us to pursue top-notch on-screen talent, to give The Shift its best chance on the marketplace.
My name is Erin Heasley, and I played the role of Molly in the Shift short film. I can't wait to find out who replaces me. Is it Jennifer Garner? Can it be Jennifer Garner? Jennifer, call me.
I'm so excited to bring you the rest of the story of The Shift. I want to follow Kevin out the door. I want to see what happens to him after he's had this incredible witness of faith and he knows it's not going to get any easier, it's actually going to get harder. Kevin will try to hide, holding on to his faith and fading scraps of hope even as the devil keeps coming after him. This is the chance to tell the story of a modern-day Job, a person who already had faith and was then seemingly abandoned by God and severely tested. Kevin, like Job, will have to make the choice every day to still believe despite all hardship and evidence to the contrary. That's life as a believer. That's who we all are. We believe, and yet it's tough. And there are times when it's way tougher than others. I think about the years of struggle my wife and I had towards understanding our daughter with special needs. I think about the time after we both lost our jobs within 24 hours of each other, and we wondered, what in the world are we going to do? And I think about how many good people I know who struggle with chronic illness and children who go astray and more and worse. And in those long moments, knowing that God is real and knowing He exists, and we wonder when He's going to help, when He's going to show His face again. That's what this feature film will be about. A man who has already seen God's hand in his life, and that's when a true trial of faith begins. I don't know a single believer who doesn't know exactly what that struggle is like. And by telling that story, we have a chance to entertain, encourage, and bring hope to so many. Check out the site for more details on how to invest now at studios.vidangel.com/theshift. All right, so that was way too much of me again, but that's what's at stake. That's what we're trying to do. That's the story we're trying to tell. And tonight I'm going to talk more about what you saw at the end there, kind of the personal history that I have with waiting on the Lord and what that has meant for me and what that has meant for my family and how that's informed the themes of the feature film. Because I'll tell you what, it's if anything's informed where Kevin goes out the door, it's that. It's the waiting part. I've done a lot of waiting in my life, and it's not always fun, but it's been very instructive. And I feel like I now look at waiting as a something I've been lucky to experience because of what it's given me for the shift and just an understanding of things. But anyways, we'll get to all of that. Right now, I think it is time to bring on our very special guest, Orlando. Can you hear me?
Hey, I'm here.
Hey, there he is. There he is. All right. Orlando, welcome to our live stream tonight. We're very, very happy to have you. I'm going to see if I can... Let's see, I got you here. See if we can get to a gallery view so we can see both of us. There we go. Now we can see both of us. Orlando, thank you for joining us tonight. It's very fun to share the screen with you. That's something we don't do enough. Orlando and I talk pretty much every day. There's just always things going on with the shift. This is the guy who's supporting and helping me think through things, and Orlando's a good guy, and so I'm excited for you guys to meet him. Orlando, why don't you start off by telling us a little bit about yourself, just professionally, your faith, if you don't mind sharing us a little bit of that. Just who are you?
Who am I? Okay, that's quite broad there. Yeah. No, first of all, I'm glad to be here. It's live stream 7, and finally get to jump in, so I'm excited about that.
Well, to be fair, you've been moving.
I have
moving your whole house. Yeah, you have not had time to be with me.
No, everything's still in boxes over here. Everything behind me looks nice and neat, but trust me, the rest of the room is a total mess. But so shoot, where do I begin? Yeah, I grew up in the church. I've been through a number of different range of denomination, I guess you can say. I've done some very very conservative Baptist churches and pretty Pentecostal churches. So I think my experience with the church as a whole is very diverse, and I love it all. I love aspects of it all. But as far as film goes, that was something that I discovered really early as well. Probably, I'd say, even in late elementary school, early junior high, I was always into movies and and acting and performing. And probably in junior high is when I first picked up a camera, my parents' home giant like camcorder type thing, and just started shooting random stuff and making my own little short films with friends and cousins. And that never stopped. I carried that through high school. That was my hobby. That was my passion. And after graduating high school, started my production company, Stellar Lens Productions. That thing right there. And it's been a journey ever since. So I got about 15 years of professional experience under my belt in various capacities, from directing and producing and post-production work. Yeah, I'm excited to be a part of this project and kind of marry the two halves of my life. You know, my creative aspect and the film, that's my passion, and then obviously my faith and the two things that I hold dearly, and getting to blend those together in a way that I feel like hasn't really been done before, and really excited to be a part of that.
Yeah, it's a unique thing, and it's, you know, working in film production, talking about our faith, that's not something we get to do a whole lot. I know we've both worked on, you know, various feature films and different things, and you know, the faith arena is still kind of a niche thing, and so it's not too often that we get those opportunities. So this is a blessing in multiple ways. Quick shout out to Deborah from Arkansas, who just partnered with us with a $200 investment. Thank you so much, Deborah. That is awesome, and we so appreciate it, helping us get to that $93,000 goal tonight. So Orlando, so how do we know each other then? Like, I mean, I know. Can you tell everyone else, how do we know each other? How did you come on board the shift?
I don't really know you. We bumped into you and you gave me $20 to come on and pretend like I know what I'm talking about. And I was moving, so I needed the money, and that's why I'm here.
That is what I remember as well.
No, actually, it was the shift, right? That's actually what we met over. I mean, I know we had a lot of mutual friends, and the film community here is pretty small here in Fresno, and a lot of the people I work with are the people you work with, and but eventually our paths finally crossed with the shift. And if I recall correctly, it was because the diner location that you originally had fell through, and you were looking for a new place, and you found one, but you needed insurance for it. That they were asking for an insurance, and you're like, I don't have insurance for that. Who has insurance? And I was up with my family in Shaver, which is now on fire right now, which is totally heartbreaking. That's like our retreat, so it's total bummer. But we were up there, and I got a call from someone like, hey, working with this guy Barack, he needs some insurance. Do you think you guys could cover that? That's like, sure, okay. All right, give me the information, give me the paperwork. I'll fill it out. I'll submit it to the insurance company. We'll get you guys covered. And then I think we connected after that, after the shoot was successful.
Yeah, no, we did. Yeah, it was really just that. And to this day, I still don't totally understand why in the world you felt like you could just give insurance to this guy you don't know. But you did join us on the shoot for a day. I remember that as well.
Yeah.
And so we kind of met there, and then just in process of time, you know, we got to know each other more, and until now we're working with each other pretty much every day. And so, you know, I'm grateful.
Or every night. It's usually like 2 a.m. when we're
That's
when we're
true.
talking.
We're both night owls in that way. But it's a great partnership. And it's one I'm really grateful for. You know, you need a guy who's got your back, and I feel like you've always got your back as well as I have your back. Orlando and I have more things going on than the shift, and so, you know, sometimes he's the director and sometimes I'm the director, and then we'll just trade places. Hey, we just had another investment come in from Ava in California. Awesome. She is a partner for $500. Ava, thank you so much. Ava, I'm going to go with Ava. Thank you so much for your partnership. It means so much. We are trying to get to $93,000 tonight so that we can blow the doors off this campaign and just race to $1 million with the 3 weeks that we have left. We cannot access that money until we hit that minimum. Just a quick note, too, about that, about the return on investment. This is not a donation. We are trying to get investments. We want people to actually be partners with us. And since your first money in, everybody who's putting money in right now, their first money, that means you get first money back. If the movie makes a profit, if it makes money, you're going to get paid 120% return on your investment before myself or Orlando or anybody else who's part of the team makes any money off of this film. We make zero money until you make money. It's as simple as that. And I'm very glad for that. You guys are putting in your money. We want you to get the return. And so that's how this is structured. 120% return on your investment before we make anything. That's the way it's done. So that if you have any questions about that, please let us know, and we'll happy to answer even more on that. Okay, so Orlando, so we've been working together for a while. We met on the shift, but when we met on the shift, like the feature film, that was not a thing. We were not planning on making a feature film. I didn't have a story for a feature film. The feature film is something that developed much later. And at first it was a germ of an idea, and I'm sure at some point I probably shared that germ with you. That germ became, a full-blown disease. This is a terrible metaphor that is known as the feature film, and there's a script. So tell me this then. What is it about the shift that speaks to you? Like, what about this story and its presentation speaks enough to you that you're willing to come on board as a producer and support my vision, support what this thing is to help us get it out into the world, and make no mistake, even though Orlando has not been paid a dime yet, he is working very hard on this film and right in there in the trenches with me and helping me figure it out. Why are you doing that, Orlando?
Yeah. So to be honest, like when we did the short film, and I was there for the alley scene, the car crash scene, and all of that. And it was a lot of fun, and just getting to see you work and getting to see the story that's being told. I don't think I even had the script, so I kind of was just getting little bits and pieces of it, and it just happened to be on set. And it wasn't until, because it took a while for that like first edit to really get done, right? I mean, there was some time that went by.
Yeah,
anyway.
I had not edited something like that before, so I was teaching myself.
Yeah.
So it took a little while.
And I remember the first time I saw it, and I had no real background on what it was at the actual screening at Maya, the Maya Theater, and I immediately I was just like, holy crap! Like this is kind of a big deal here. This is like it's the two things that I'm really passionate about. It's my faith, and then it's also a really strong cinematic presentation. It's not just I have a lot of quarrels with the faith-based film industry, so I'm sorry if some of that bleeds through here, but
get into it, man. This is like yeah. I want to hear your passion.
Yeah, and so a lot of it I don't resonate. It doesn't resonate with me. I get the point, and I get what they're trying to get to, and they really hammer home hope and faith, but it's a lot of time it's done in a very superficial level. It's very plain, it's very shallow, it's very hokey, I guess. And what I loved about the shift is that it was dark, it was gritty, it was intense, it was a little frightening at times, all of which is life. Life is not pretty and fit neatly in a box, and is not this everything is great. You say the sinner's prayer, you commit Jesus into your life, and all of a sudden sunshine and rainbows. There's no sunshine and rainbows out there right now. It's smoke and fire, and that's life. And so what I really enjoyed about it was that I felt like, because it was so much more rough and it's not its presentation, but in the content was gritty. It was a little edgy. I felt like I could relate more to the characters. I felt like I could relate more to Kevin. He felt more like a real person, even though this is a super fictitious world. It's not how it works. This is not history lesson or a theological lesson on the way God and Satan work in our lives, or it's none of that. I can separate that, but the people feel that much more real, and that's what I really connected with. And so I think after that, we kind of chatted a little bit more, and eventually it wasn't too long after that brought you on board. You came on and part of the team, and we started focusing more on commercial work and gig work. And I think the shift kind of sat on the shelf for a little while, probably a couple of years now. And then one day you're just like, hey, so I kind of sent this thing over to VidAngel, and they like it and they want to talk. Are you free to get on a phone call? Like it was like that much notice. Like, okay, yeah, sure. What do you need from me? It's like, okay, I'll be there. Yeah, sure. And that kicked off a long process to get to here, of just all the planning, all the SEC stuff, and slowly but surely building that momentum. So yeah, and I don't know, I'm privy to a lot more because I've obviously seen the script and worked with you on kind of some revision, some feedback there, and I'm excited for what you're going to do with the feature.
Yeah, well, and you know better than most what that's going to be. So let's talk about that. Let's talk about the script. You've read it. You're one of the few people who have. I just talked to somebody else today who read it for the first time. It was an actor friend of mine, and I was kind of just interested on his take as an actor, and I trusted him to be, what's the word I'm looking for? To be discreet and to not share it out there. And it was an interesting talking to him. He was very enthusiastic about it, and recognized it as something that was different from other scripts that he's read. And so I won't talk too much more about that conversation, but I guess what I'm wondering is thinking about the script, you've read it. Obviously, I don't want you to say anything that's spoilery, but what's your take on it? What's your take on what we're doing with this feature film? How does it differ from the short? What do you think people's reaction to it is going to be? What is it about that script that is exciting for you? And I'm not asking you to blow smoke up my butt or anything like that, but just tell us like your honest take on it, and what you think people might, what they might think when they finally do get to see the feature film.
Yeah. Well, first and foremost, the short is but a fraction of the feature. Like it's the setup. It's not even all of Act 1. Like it's the prologue, I guess. But anyways, yeah. So there's a lot that takes place, and I think for me, again, just tone, the world building, the character building, everybody feels so authentic. They're not all polished. They're not these perfect people, and the world is not perfect by any means. And if anything, I like that it's being pushed more in an exaggerated direction of even less perfect than maybe, on the scale of, perfect and completely flawed, where Christian films tend to be more on the perfect scale. You're kind of pushing more towards the imperfect. And right. I think that really helps. Again, it helps us to connect because we're not perfect. And I think there's a part of us that recognizes that those flaws resonate. That's what makes us who we are and makes us human. But I mean, right off the bat, there's something that happens. I remember reading the script, and we have this revelation very early on as to, man, I don't even know how to contextualize it without giving it away. But you know what I'm talking about.
I'm not sure I do know what you're talking about. I feel like there's a lot of moments like that.
So after he leaves the diner, and shortly thereafter, we are given a bit of information.
Oh, okay. Yes, I know what you're talking about.
From a news article.
Don't spoil that.
Yeah, and when I read it, I was like, oh my goodness, this is going to be intense. So there's a number of like that in the script where you took a lot of risks, and I think they pay off handsomely. I think they're great storytelling mechanisms, and just narrative risks that you took, and it works. For me, this works amazingly well. The blending of true sci-fi with a faith-based undertone. And it's not even an undertone. I mean, it's a through line through and through. But it's
a through line, and I think it gets pretty overt at certain points.
Yeah, it does. Yeah, it does. But it's overt. It's overt continually and cinematically. It's not overt in the which is what I don't like in modern Christian film as it stands. Is it tends to be very preachy. It tends to be very Bible thumpy. It tends to be that kind of stuff. And it's not, the Shift is not that.
Right. Well, and I'll tell you, one of my rules for writing the script was no preaching. Like, there's none.
I remember.
It doesn't happen.
I remember. Yeah. I remember you. I think it was even like the first pass that we went through. You pointed that out and like, keep this in mind. And if it feels too preachy, let me know. And I think there's maybe 2 instances that I caught a red flag on, and then we kind of ironed that out. But for the most part, like it's not there. And that's what I mean, where it almost feels like an undertone and a meta narrative, but it is the whole point. And that is clear throughout, but the way it's presented, it doesn't feel that way. And it's great. It's really hard to articulate without you seeing it.
No, I know. I have that trouble too. All right, we have a question that came in here. This is from Roper. You know what? I don't want to deal with this question, so I'm going to throw it to you because I don't want to touch this one.
Okay.
So
right.
I have, as the host, I have the full authority to not tackle this and instead put it on you. So that's what I'm exercising that authority now. So you have to forgive me. Roper asks, what % of Christians will hate this film?
I don't know. I imagine. So honestly, that was my first concern before we started getting into the marketing. We decided to do a local screening, and we decided to do it at a church because my biggest concern wasn't whether or not this would be palatable for non-believers. I was generally concerned that it was the church that was going to be our biggest rival, that were going to be our biggest adversary and not advocate. I think we in the church have a tendency to be overly dogmatic and are used to our box and things being a very certain way. And anything that looks or feels like it's stepping outside of that, we lack grace. Mm-hmm. And this is a film that requires a little bit of grace, which, that's biblical. So,
right.
I don't know. I think it's going to depend on each individual person. I don't think it's going to be like a denominational thing. I don't think it's going to be a regional thing. It's going to come down to the individual's heart and what they are willing to stomach. What are they willing to, palate, and what are they willing to understand that we're not trying to make a theological argument with things like the way Satan works, specifically with a shifting device, with a shifter. That's not what we're saying. We're hoping that the things that are so clearly fictitious can be left at that it's fictitious, and that it's a plot device to tell a story, and that the underlying message remains the same. Satan is the enemy, and he persecutes and he oppresses. Now, the means of which he does it is where we take some creative liberty. I think that's perfectly fine and within cinematic storytelling. But for some people, that don't fly, and that's okay, But so in terms of percentage, can't tell you, but I know there will be plenty who aren't gonna like it. But circling back to that screening we did, I was pleasantly surprised that I don't think we got any pushback. Like, it was. No,
we didn't. We didn't get any
unanimously
pushback.
Positive. Yeah.
Yeah. It was very surprising to me as well. I really expected at least somebody to object.
Yeah.
I'm actually going to take this question on. I said I wasn't going to take this question on, but you sparked something in me that I want to address.
Do it.
You talked about whether or not people are going to be able to stomach it. We are not going to be doing. I don't. You put that out there, and I don't want people to be afraid of that. When Orlando says people being able to stomach it, I don't want anybody to picture like gore or graphic violence or anything like that. None of that is what we're going to be doing here. I think what he's talking about more, and just in the slightly different way we're handling faith. And if you've seen the short film and you enjoy the short film, I think you're familiar with how we're going to be approaching things. I think that the feature film is much more expansive, but it's true in tone to what you've already seen. So
the short is a great barometer.
The short is a great barometer.
If you have an issue with the short, you're going to have an issue with the feature. If
Yeah.
you don't have an issue with the short, you're really not going to have an issue with the feature.
And so when we're talking percentages, I think actually the people who are reacting right now on Facebook, right now there are probably hundreds of people watching The Shift for the first time because our ads are still going. And, they comment and they tell us what they think. And I think that based on the comments that we're getting and the feedback that we're getting, I would say that the number of Christians that are going to hate the Shift feature film, if it is at all comparable to the number that hate the Shift short film on Facebook, we're talking about less than 5%. It really genuinely is like less than 5% of the people who watch it are in any way upset or put off by it. Most people seem to understand that we're taking a very real thing, which is that there is an adversary. He is against us and he is trying to tempt us, and there is God who is here for us and a Savior that we can call upon. They understand that we're taking that reality and we're not adding to that, but we're mixing it with some science fiction concepts. And this is not something that is unprecedented in Christian literature and Christian entertainment. It's usually not science fiction, but actually, if you think about it, fantasy fiction is something we've all seen mixed with Christian faith and values. And the number one person that I think of for that is C.S. Lewis, who built the entire Chronicles of Narnia around the idea of a savior and the gospel and the principles and things that he knew to be true. That was fantasy fiction. This is science fiction. I don't see a whole lot of difference between what he did and between what we did. And I know just based on the response we've been getting percentage-wise, most people catch that vision pretty immediately. And that was our experience when we showed the film at your church. And in fact, right after we watched the film at the church, we invited people to come into a little room and just talk on camera about what they had just seen. And some of you may have seen that video, some of you may not have. Let's watch that real quick. This is the church screening that Orlando was just talking about. The reactions from the congregation, they literally have just watched the film. They're coming right out of it, and this is what they had to say.
It was gripping. I mean, it actually made me dig down and realizing the fact, that's me and my struggle in this crazy world we live in here.
I love watching Christian films. To actually have a film that's more portrayed around Satan is very unique.
Isn't the devil?
Yes.
It's a joke, right?
But the reality is he's there and he's gonna tempt you, and he is tempting you every single day of your life. And to have that portrayed in the film makes me feel like I'm not alone.
I feel like we find ourselves in that struggle on a daily basis. And that moment when he just started to pray, put his hands together, I think that was so powerful. I feel like I've been in that situation many times.
The prayer scene was really emotional, that I actually was moved to tears just because it was so real. It just seemed so real, because when you're struggling like that, it seems like everything around is just kind of screaming at you. And so the fact that he was able to just focus on his prayer and focus on God was encouraging to me tonight.
I like to consider myself a devoted Christian, but at the same time, we struggle with sin and temptation every day.
Let me give you everything you ever wanted. Just say the word.
And so he's going to be relentlessly pursuing getting our soul. The only way we're going to be able to win the victory is to know that we've got the power of God with us, and that we have the power of the free will to make the decisions that take us down the road the right way with a Christ-centered life.
I think that this movie has the potential to explore how we, at different points in our life, can become that person that falls into temptation. It's more about that little misunderstanding that leads to major things.
I'm a wife, and me and my husband argue about the same things that him and his wife argued about.
Awesome. This doesn't seem like your typical cheesy, I mean, I love Christian movies. I love emotional movies that are about love and encouragement, but it seems like something that, I can invite my dad and he's still going to be interested in it because he's not turned off, and it doesn't seem like your Hallmark movie.
I've never hurt anybody my whole life.
No, but you have such potential. You're a halfway decent guy. It's the other half I'm particularly fond of, and it takes over in the end.
I mean, this little sneak peek was so eye-catching and so had me drawn in. I watch a movie, and if I'm not immediately attracted to it, I pretty much zone out. This short little film that we just finished watching caught my attention so much that I cannot wait until the full film comes out.
If anything, I felt like I wanted to see more. I wanted to see what was going to happen with Kevin. How was he going to go through that journey, and how he was going to defeat Satan.
If this isn't any indication of what the outcome is going to be, oh gosh, yeah, absolutely. We're thrilled.
All right, so that was it. I mean, those reactions were amazing. Like, I could not believe, after all the fear and all the fretting and all the nail biting, literally for me. By the way, for those of you that haven't heard, my daughter painted my nails this week because it put a smile on her face, and she deserves smiles, and so I let it happen. Not my usual look. Yeah, after all the nail biting and all the worrying, that was the reaction. I mean, what did you think of that when you hear that? And I mean, those are people. Some of those are people that you actually know.
Right.
Yeah. Just, I mean, how did that feel in the moment? What was your take on that?
Yeah, I was very pleasantly surprised. It was funny because I think towards the end we got someone who it sounded like was going to start to give some objection, and I think inside I was like, all right, finally, like let's have this conversation, and it wasn't. It was not an objection at all. It was just a really roundabout way to get to, you know, how much this guy actually really liked it. And then obviously the feedback from the interviews was fantastic. You know, talking to people afterwards, people were offering, you know, property. I had one guy who was like, you know, I got an ambulance if you need an ambulance.
And we do.
Like,
we need an ambulance.
Yeah, we do. Yeah. Like, it was just like people started offering all these different things, and it's like, wow, that's awesome. Like, I'm excited people got that inspired from it, that, you know, just as we're just trying to leave the building, people stopping us and offering up these different things. So, you know, I think that really helped. And then obviously more than anything else, I've just been seeing the reactions to the ads that have been going out, you know, and all the comments and all the interaction there. You know, I told you, like, I gotta be honest, like I kind of stopped like checking them all the time because there's just too much piling up. I'm like, Brock, God bless you. You're the one responding to every single one of those. Like, it was just
trying as many as I can.
Oh, it's overwhelming, and it's great, and it's really exciting. It's encouraging that that there's a hunger for this, and I think people are connecting, and it's resonating with people, which isn't a surprise, but it's always great to see it playing out. Right. I mean, there's a difference between what we understand and expect, and to actually see it happen is a whole other thing. So
yeah,
it's cool.
No,
excited.
it was a great night. It was a great night. And of course, tonight we are trying to hit our goal of $93,000, which is an extremely ambitious goal. It's probably going to require somebody out there right now who's kind of like, well, shoot, I'm going to put in a whole bunch. Or maybe it's not. Maybe it's just a whole bunch of little ones. I don't know. I believe it can happen. Whether or not it does is up to you, and of course is up to our Father in heaven. Real quick, we have a couple of partnerships that have just come in. Daniela from Texas just partnered with us for $100. Thank you so much, Daniela. Tyler in Idaho partnered with us for $100. Thank you to both of you. It means so much. You know, it doesn't matter if your investment is $100 or $1,000 or $10,000. We are so grateful for everyone who partners with us. You become part of the team.
Absolutely.
You become our partners. It is not about, you know, it's not just about you getting the number as high as we can or big investment, anything like that. We are so grateful for whatever you bring to the table and for the faith and the support that you put into this. It means so much, and it's so much more than I ever expected that we could ever get from this little film we made in Fresno, California over 3 days with no money. We had $500. That is how much this movie was made for. We are now looking for $1 million to make it into a feature film. And that is a crazy, crazy reality that we are now living in. We also just had a question from Elena. She said, when you say partner with us, does that mean an executive producer And is there points attached to the contract? Just a question. So when we're talking about you partnering with us, we mean specifically that you are purchasing shares, stock in the film itself. And so it's not points in the way that we think of in terms of film deals and things like that. It's not points. It's your first money in, and you own a piece of the film. Each share costs $1. The minimum buy-in is 100 shares, so $100. And there's various reasons for that are out of our control. We've had some people asking, can we bring it down lower? We can't actually do that. There are just a lot of different factors that go into that number. But yeah, when we say you're a partner, it doesn't mean you're an executive producer or anything like that. Although, if somebody did want to partner with us for, say, $100,000, and we certainly hope that person is out there, there is a perk. There's perks associated with different levels of investment, and the perk associated with the $100,000 investment is executive producer. There's also a chance to be an associate producer if you invest at a lower than that. I think it's something like 50 or 60. I'm not sure. I'd have to go look. There's also perks like being an extra on set, or you could get an early look at the trailer, director's cut of the trailer. There's also a perk in which you would get to read the script for yourself before the movie even comes out. That's a pretty crazy perk, and it requires a lot of trust, but that can happen. So there are definitely reasons to up your initial investment. Maybe you've already invested and you're thinking, well, I didn't know about those perks. I want some of those perks. Go back in there and invest again. Put in your password and open it back up, and you can add to your original investment. And then, of course, anybody who's listening tonight who hasn't invested yet, check out the perks. There might be something that appealed to you there. There's also come and have lunch with me on set. That sounds like a fun one to me. It'd be fun to get to know you, and I'd love to have you there and visiting and seeing what's going on, introduce you to the actors, that type of thing. I think that would be really fun. But yeah, that's what we mean by partnership. There's also another question that came in earlier that I totally forgot. This is Orlando. Don't worry, we're going to get back to you. It's the elephant in the room. So what happens if you do not get the funding? That's a good question. What happens if we do not get the funding, if we get to September 30th and we don't reach $1 million? At this point, I think we're very confident that we're going to reach 93,000, our minimum. That we are what, $15,000 away from that right now because of the investments that have already come in during this live stream. So I'm very confident that we will get to the 93. I hope that we can get to it tonight. I believe that that's possible. But getting to the $1 million is a whole other thing. I believe that is possible as well. I believe that is extremely possible. But let's just talk about the thing we don't want to talk about for a second. Let's talk about what happens if we don't get to that $1 million. If we don't get to that $1 million, we are going to be able to still keep the money that you have invested. That is possible. And we can, but it's also possible for you to say, hey, you know what? I'm pulling my money out. You didn't get there, and I don't want to do that. Everybody who has invested will receive a notice via an email at the end of the investment, giving them the option to pull out. So if you see that at the end we haven't made it and you don't feel confident in the project anymore and you need to pull out, you can do so, and we totally understand if that is what you choose to do. You'll be afforded that opportunity. So in no way does an investment require you, is it locked in and there's no backing out. That's not how this works. You will have an opportunity to back out when we close at the end of the month. But if you choose to leave your investment with us and we are still short of $1 million, that is still very helpful, and that your investment in the film will still be solid. Okay, so how do we make the film then if we don't have enough money? Well, once there's actually first money in, that's when a film becomes extremely attractive to what we call equity investors. These are people who are used to investing quite a bit more money than maybe you or I could put into a film. We're talking about people who, could come in with hundreds of thousands of dollars, maybe even $1 million. Having first money in already makes this a much more attractive opportunity for that type of investor. So we would encourage people to keep their investment with us, to have faith that we're going to be able to go out and get the investment that we need in order to get the budget that we need in order to make the film. So that would be our game plan at that point. To be honest with you, that's not something we talk a lot about. That's not something we think a lot about, because we're putting all of our faith and all of our energy into achieving the budget that we need at the end of this month. But because the question was asked, I want, again, in the interest of transparency and just being as honest with you as I possibly can, that is what our game plan would be at that point. As with everything, it would be a matter of faith on your part and a matter of faith on our part. But we feel very good about the team that we're assembling. We feel like The Shift is an attractive package if you take into account the short film and all of you that are supporting it, all the love we've gotten in social media, Dallas, Dan, and Matt, and who knows who else we're going to be able to bring on board. The Shift, I believe, is a very attractive opportunity for an equity investor, and I believe that we will achieve our funding one way or the other, no matter what happens. But I would really love to have it happen with you. I would much rather you partner with us and get us all the way there. And so we don't talk about that too much. Okay, let's bring Orlando back. I rudely got rid of him. But Orlando, now,
yeah.
Okay, so I'm risking making it difficult again. I want to dive back into the script for the feature film.
Right.
And as soon as I say that, I hope all of you that are listening are like, oh, okay, is Orlando going to slip up? Is he going to give us some nugget of information that gives us a hint as to what's to come? And maybe he will. So we're risking it. We're risking it by asking this question. So the feature film, you've already talked about how the feature film is very different from the short. It incorporates what we've seen in the short, but it's so much more than that and so much bigger. What would you say is the theme of the feature film as opposed to the short film? I think the short film we all understand and know, but the feature film becomes very much its own thing. It builds from what we've seen in the short, but the point that it's making, the theme, I would argue is different than the short.
It is, yeah.
What can you tell us about that? And as long as you don't speak specifically, I'm okay with whatever you say. But what would you say is the theme of the feature film that resonates with you and that you think draws you to it, maybe would draw others to it as well?
Yeah. Man, and I do want to be very careful here. So for me, there's two things that really stuck out. One is the walk, walking out faith and through challenges, particularly, and I could relate to on a level here as well, and it brought something specifically to mind. But the idea of having experienced God move in your life in a very real, very obvious way, and having that moment of feeling, when those things happen, that those are moments where you really feel like it makes real the faith, right? It's like God specifically blessed me in this way. Like he took the time to intervene so mightily and so specifically. Like that's it's amazing. It's praiseworthy. And it kind of puts you up on the mountaintop, right? But then life goes on and you start to come off of that mountain and you come back into the valley and you remember and you see life piling on you and things, and you're just like, why don't I have this happening again? God, you did this thing. Like, what are you doing? Like, why build me up if you're going to let me then suffer through this now? And that's the Christian walk. Again, like I mentioned before, it is not this sunshine and rainbows and this get out of jail free card that anytime there's a problem, throw a quick prayer up and all of a sudden, everything is cool again. It's not. And that's one of the main themes of the film, is seeing that playing out, and obviously again in a very exaggerated way, but nevertheless it's parallels with our lives. And that's what Kevin experiences. He has this huge spiritual victory. God clearly shows up, and then he seems to clearly go away and kind of leave him to his turmoil. And so I think it's that's the main theme. And I think the other one that kind of comes into play as well is God's timing and God's plan, both of which are kind of cliche Christianese, but is very real, right? We all want things our way, and we want it now. And God, if you're really going to help me, do it now. Like, I'm in pain now. Why do I have to go through this? Why, if you're going to save me and you're going to relieve me of this pain, why do I have to wait a week, a month, a year, a decade? Do it now. But we are not privy to the understanding of God's timing. We're not privy to his to how going through the process, how that shapes us, what that allows us to experience, that then we can maybe help. We don't know how those things intersect until we're there. And then you can look back and see, like, okay, I can clearly see how, because of that event and because of that set me on this trajectory, which led me here, which caused this to happen and to meet this person. And you can really map it out. And it's here too. And the other thing too is, even when that respite comes, it doesn't always look the way you expect it to. And actually, in my experience, it never looks the way you expect it.
Not in mine as well.
Yeah. So those are the two major themes that stick out in the film, and that for me personally really resonated. And I could, as I'm reading the script, it jogs my memory of similar things, right? Of having no money and losing a job, and and my wife, right after my wife decided to leave her job to go back to work, or not to go back to school, and all these things happening, and how are we going to pay bills, and God comes through, and we happen to just have enough money in there, and we get by, and everything is cool. And then 4 years later, the exact same thing, but worse, and now we're actually upside down, and it's like, come on now, like, I know you can get me through here, you've done it before. Why? I learned, I trusted you. I learned my lesson. Like, come on, I don't need to take faith and finances part 2. Part 1 was sufficient. I'm good. But no, I had to have part 2, and sure enough, down to the wire, and and somehow he provides a way. And what that does for faith is incredible. And it sucks going through it. It's not fun by any means. It's not something I hope there is no part 3. But if it comes, I'll take my lumps, and I'll hold fast and know that in time, and in one way or another, God will come through. And that's faith, and that is the Christian walk. It's not pretty, but it's real.
Yeah. No, really, really well said. And I'm glad that you feel like the script accurately reflects that walk, because that is very much the intention. And I hinted at this earlier this evening, but I've got unfortunately, I have more than one story that is like the one that you're talking about, and I think most of us do. I think most of us have passed through more than one valley, and more than one peak. It's important to recognize that. I've definitely seen more than one peak, and I've definitely seen more than one valley. I think that as I get older, I have noticed that the valleys tend to be bigger than they used to be. It certainly seems that way. Yeah. And one of the things that really not resonated, that's the wrong word. One of the things that really influenced the Shift feature film is this idea of waiting. And this is a story that I share a little bit in the pitch video that you saw earlier, but I haven't really talked about too much on these live streams. But in our family, we have had the opportunity, and I'm going to say opportunity with a little bit of a bitter taste in my mouth, the opportunity to wait on the Lord. and in some pretty significant ways. If you saw the video earlier, if you've seen the video at the end of the shift on Facebook, you see that family photo of me and my family, including my wife and my 3 daughters. And in that moment, I'm specifically talking about our middle daughter, who has some special needs. And her name is Cammie, and Cammie was a huge influence. Our experience with Cammie was a huge influence on the crafting of the feature film of the shift. Because Cammie, for us, represents some of our biggest joys as a family and some of our deepest valleys. Before she was born, my wife and I would have conversations about, what we could handle and what we could not as parents. It's something that we thought about a lot. And one of the things that my wife was very open about was this idea that, she could not handle having a child with special needs. And the Lord knew that. The Lord knew that she couldn't handle that. And he would not give her a trial of that magnitude because it would be too difficult. And it would basically do her in. And, I didn't disagree. That seemed like a lot to handle. People with special needs up to that point in our lives, neither one of us had had any real experiences with people with any kind of mental or physical, disabilities. It just wasn't in our bank of experiences. And when you don't have those experiences, it can look pretty frightening from the outside. Not only did I not know really how to interact with anybody like that, but I just was completely bewildered by people who, it was, parents in particular, whose job it was to care for people like that. And so to imagine actually experiencing that as a parent, to be in charge of someone literally their entire life, because they cannot support themselves in the same way that the rest of us can. They are not typical in that way, was one of the more frightening thoughts that we could imagine as a young couple newly married, and especially once we had our first daughter, and what a handful she was, and trying to imagine how there could be a bigger handful. So when our second daughter was born, it was a thing where, we had maybe a few days where we thought she was typical. And it was my wife, who had recently taken some child development classes, who was the first one to notice that, maybe Cammie is not like other kids, and maybe she's different. And so, what followed was a series of doctor's appointments to trying to figure out if my wife was right, and it turned out that her instincts were right. And Cammie was not like other kids. And we spent the next 2 years going through test after test after test, trying to figure out exactly what her specific challenges are. She had low muscle tone. She couldn't really talk. And she didn't seem to respond in the way that other kids did. There were just a lot of different things globally that were going on with her. Her development was extremely, extremely slow. And so we were trying to figure out, okay, well, what is going on with her? 2 years of testing. At the end of those 2 years, local doctors and hospitals and experts, they all said the same thing. There's nothing wrong with her. And they said that with almost tongue-in-cheek, because it's clear that that was not true, but none of the tests were coming back with any results that made any kind of sense. So they said, you need to go to San Francisco. So what followed from that was 2 years of testing in San Francisco. That's a lot of driving back and forth. That's a lot of just trying to figure out what's going on. After 2 years in San Francisco, the doctor said, we don't know. Again, 4 years of testing now, and we have 0 answers. It's one thing to know what is going on with your child and what the issue is, and you know how to help them. It's another thing entirely to have absolutely no idea how to help them or what to do. And that was the space that we found ourselves in for 4 years. And it was a space we didn't want to be in. It was very difficult on our family. It was very difficult on us as individuals. And the whole time we were trying to figure out why. What is the point of this? When is God going to show up? When is he going to heal our child so that she can be like other kids and enjoy a life that other kids enjoy? 2 years more. Now Cammie's 6 years old. It's been very difficult. My wife is struggling even more. And we finally have a third daughter. And I don't know what it was about having a third daughter, but a typical daughter. And you're going to meet her tomorrow night. She's gonna join us, Violet. She's 9 years old now. Going to give us her review of the shift. But I don't know what it was about having a typical daughter. And I think it's just the fact that our family all of a sudden, after 6 years of being just about Cammie, now it was able to be about somebody else too. And that kind of shook us out of it, and a little bit. Enough so that we could look at Cammie and realize something very important about her, which was that she was not unhappy. Cammie, despite the fact that she cannot talk but a few words, despite the fact that she can't do most things for herself, lives a happy life. And seeing her be happy and recognizing that, accepting her in the moment for who she is, all that waiting that we'd been doing on the Lord, it was like the wait was over, even though nothing had changed. And that was when the Lord's purpose was revealed to us, which was that Cammie is a blessing as she is in our life. But we had to wait 6 years to get that answer. And it wasn't the answer we asked for, and it wasn't the prayer. We didn't pray that we would have an understanding. We prayed that she would be better, according to our understanding of what better is. And so that waiting on the Lord, and now thankfully we've had another 9 years with Cammie since then. And we accept her for who she is. It's still difficult. We're still seeing doctors all the time. When a child can't talk to you, sickness becomes a freak out moment. She has a seizure disorder. There's all kinds of things we're still dealing with. But our perspective has changed. Even though the trial hasn't changed, our perspective has changed. And we understand who Cammie is. We understand her place. We understand the good that she has done. My wife went from being somebody who said that she couldn't deal with having a child with special needs to somebody who now goes out into the community and advocates for children like Cammie, and who advocates for parents and teaches them her story and teaches them how to tell their story. I'm now serving as a board member for Exceptional Parents Unlimited, which is a local a nonprofit group that helps children and families with children with special needs. That's a blessing for me in my life to be able to serve in that way. Not a blessing I would have had without Cammie. So, we wait on the Lord a lot. There's a lot of trials that come our way, and we have to wait on Him, and we pray and we have faith that He will come in at some point. And sometimes it looks like it did for Kevin. Sometimes God changes the circumstance. And sometimes, pointedly, He changes us. And I believe that is what happened with my wife and I, is that we were changed. And that made it so that the trial was not as much of a trial anymore. It is now our reality, and we accept it, and we love her, and we love what has come from it. We know that we are better people because of it. And so this idea of waiting on the Lord and waiting to understand His purposes, that what Orlando talked about, those peaks and those valleys, waiting to understand the Lord's purpose in the wait, in the trial. That's what the feature film is about. That's what it's going to dive into and really explore and really ask hard questions about. And what is on the other side of that wait? That I feel is what the story of Job is. I talk about this being like a modern day story of Job. That's what Job's trial was. Job's trial was to wait and endure. And Job didn't know how the story was going to end. And we don't know, any of us, how our stories are going to end. Whatever that story is that's going on currently. For us, for my family, it was a child with special needs, and then later we had job loss. I talk about that too. We've experienced that wait as well. But we all have our different stories that are happening right now, the different trials that we're experiencing, the different waits that we have on the Lord. And we don't know how that story is going to end. We will find out how Kevin's story ends. It's a feature film. It's not a series. We're gonna show the start and the finish of his particular story. We're gonna show his wait, and we're gonna understand what he comes to understand, the lesson that he learns from that. And that's as much as I can say about that without getting too spoilery. But it's hanging in the wind, waiting for me to shut up. So I appreciate your patience, Orlando.
Of course.
But yeah, that's I haven't even been looking at Facebook. I don't know if I'm missing any comments or anything that anybody's been sharing. let's see, what have people been saying? Laura May says, one of my favorite childhood songs had the chorus, "Sometimes he calms the storm with a whispered peace, be still. He can settle any sea, but it doesn't mean he will. Sometimes he holds us close and lets the wind and waves go wild. Sometimes he calms the storm, and other times he calms his child." It's perfect. It's perfect. That's exactly what I'm saying. Why in the world didn't I just say that? That's so much shorter. Thank you,
Obviously.
Laura. I really appreciate that. Very cool. Let's see. We got a message coming in from our moderator. No questions, just love and support. Every time I tell a story, there's no questions. It's just love and support, and that's great. I'll take it. Thank you. We are trying to hit $93,000 tonight. We are coming to the end of our live stream. Unless somebody's going to come in here at the last minute and get us all the way there, it doesn't look like we're going to hit it. That does not mean that we are down and out. That doesn't mean that this is over. It means that we are going to wait on the Lord. That's what it means. We're going to wait to get to our 93,000, and we know that we're going to get there. We know that we're going to get there, and however much time we have after that, we're going to be able to do this thing, and we're going to be able to get to that million one way or the other. We know that it's going to happen. And we know that it's going to happen with all of you, and we appreciate you being here with us tonight. I'm not ending. I'm just saying. I just want to put that out there. It's okay. It's going to happen, and it's going to happen soon. And I believe that I have felt from the very beginning that the Lord has His hand on this project, and it's not for me to know what it looks like and how it actually happens. It's for Him to do. Orlando, go ahead. You feel? I hear you wanting to say something. So I'm gonna shut up.
No, I just wanted to kind of share a little bit about how we had this conversation the other night, right? About what the future looks like, and if goals aren't met, and how things are going to go, and this and that, and there was an option on the table of maybe cutting out a little early, kind of resetting and kind of assessing an assessment, and then kind of going again, and and I immediately gave you my feedback on that, which turns out to be exactly what your thoughts were, which is that may make, to a certain extent, it may make some business sense, and it makes practical sense, but I feel like it really robs God of His opportunity to intervene. And that was my whole position. Was part of the reason why we opened this up in the first place was to allow people to have an opportunity to come alongside and to be a part of the process and be a part of what's going on here. You and I both had the opportunity of doing this with The Chosen, right? And there is something about, I mean, they with all of their contacts and things that they do, they probably didn't need to do that separately, individually, whatever. But there is an aspect of being able to feel like I'm helping, I'm contributing in some way, and whatever little bit of money I could put on the table for them to use, I'm in it. I'm part of that team, and there's blessing that flows from that. There's a joy that comes from there's excitement that comes from that, and I think when we take that away and we just go, hey, you know what, we've made some waves now, we have some contacts, let's just do this privately and raise the funds elsewhere. I think you really discredit God, and you take away the opportunity for Him to move in people's lives and move in our lives and show up. I personally wouldn't be surprised if at the very last second something happened and comes in which motivates somebody else, and they put in a little, like, I don't know, but it seems to line up with what I've experienced with the way God operates.
Yes, I agree.
And that would cease to even be a potential if we were to just take that away and be like, you know what, it's a lot easier if we just cut bait now. Let's reassess. Let's take what we've learned. Let's create a new marketing strategy, and let's go out again. Like, I don't want to do this on our strength alone, because it's not our story in the first place. So, why do that?
Right.
and why take that out of God's hands? Let's give him the opportunity to show up. And if he does, amazing. And if he doesn't, well, then back to the drawing board, and we have plan B, plan C, and we'll do that. But I don't want to take it out of his hands.
Yeah, I 100% agree. 100% agree. I heard a great talk/speech a couple months ago. My wife introduced it to me, and I don't remember the name of the speaker, and I don't remember much of the details of it because I'm terrible remembering things like that. But the concept was, he said that our God is a fourth watch God. So God in scripture times, the night was divided up into watches. You had the first watch, second watch, third watch, and fourth watch. So his argument was that God shows up, our God is a fourth watch God. He shows up at the fourth watch. He shows up right at the end, right before everything's about to be over. And he cited numerous examples from the Bible and about how that works and when God has shown up at the last minute. And I realized, oh my gosh, it's exactly what you just said. It's exactly how God works. He shows up at the fourth watch. He shows up at the end when we have exhausted everything that we can do. He'll come in and he will provide the blessing, whatever that is. It's on his time, and his time tends to be at the last minute. If God were diffusing a bomb, it would be right as it ticked down to the 1 second, and then he'd pull that red wire. He never goes to second 5. He always is at the last second. That's how he operates, and I think there's a reason for that.
Yeah, I was just going to say, and I think part of that reason why is, again, to show and make darn sure we understand that he's the one who's making it happen. Right. That it is not because of, we can lay out our best made plans. We can, follow the script. We can do all these things, and all those are good. I'm a huge advocate of having a game plan and not weighing things. But, there is, there is something to be said, having understanding that all that means nothing, because God can show up whenever he does, when he wants to, and how he wants to, and he'll make things happen. And so I think that's part of the reason why the last minute is kind of part of his MO, is because at that point you're darn sure it was him, it wasn't you, because otherwise you'd have done it a long time ago.
I think that's exactly the reason. I think it's necessary for us to promote our faith, to build our trust in him, and to help us to dismiss the strength of our own arm. He needs to come at the last second to prove to us that it's not us doing it, it's him, and that have that true faith, that strengthening faith. So it's frustrating in the moment, and I hate it, of God being. So I just think that's such a cool principle, and I think it's a good thing to keep in mind as we head into these last 3 weeks, especially. Nancy says, Fourth Watch, title of your next film. That's not a bad title. I like the title. All right, so let's end here on a lighter note. I know that you have Orlando works at night, so he's about to clock into his job, believe it or not. Working on a show. But last thing for you, we've talked about Dallas and Dan and Matt coming on board. Dallas Jenkins, Dan Hasseltine, and Matt Nelson coming on board the shift as our executive producer and composers. You have yet to talk to Dallas, Dan, and Matt, but I see that as something that will not last too much longer. You will get a chance, of course, to meet them. What is it significant to you about them coming on board, just from a filmmaker's perspective? What do you think they bring to the table? What's the significance for you?
Yeah, so for me, there's two things. One there is the experience, having someone that for us, like we don't know what it's like. Even with my 15 years of production, even working on some feature films, it's always been a small part of it. I've never been responsible for the whole thing and the all the nuance and the details of making that happen. And so having people who have been through it, who understand, who have that experience, that's invaluable. That we're going to have great coaches, right, and great advocates through that process. But I think beyond that too is it lends a level of credibility to the project and to us and to yourself as well. The thing is, it's unfortunate that that's kind of a requirement, but it is, right? I mean, again, we've never been at this level. We've never been in this arena, steering the ship, so to speak. But when you have someone who has done that and they come alongside and they say, hey, yeah, I'm a captain to my own ship, but I'm right behind these guys here.
Mm-hmm.
That gives a lot of credibility both into the people who are working with you, the people who are investing into you, and the people who obviously we're going to be trying to do deals with and contracts and all the details, right? It gives credibility, and I think that's very helpful. That's very powerful, and it's very necessary. It's funny because like I liken it to the first time I moved down to LA for work, and I went to go work on a show for Facebook. The job that I took was kind of like I don't know how to describe it. It was a lot less difficult than what I had been doing before. It was very small and it was really easy for me to do. But it was Facebook, right? And it was in LA. And just that move alone in that week that it took me to get down there, all of a sudden my inbox is blowing up with people who past clients, with people who, other associates who all of a sudden want to work with me, want to hire me, who want to bring me on these other projects, because there's something about credibility when you're working in an arena with people who have done it before. They lend you their support, and what they've accomplished rubs off on you in that way. It's kind of, like I said, it's kind of unfortunate that that's the case, because like I said, I was doing a lot more difficult work when I was home in Fresno before moving to LA. But there's something about that perception. And that's what we get. We get to glean off of them and actually learn from them, but we also get to leverage their expertise and their success and show like, hey, if you trust those guys, they trust us, so you should trust us.
I like the logic.
At least that's the logic.
it's solid logic.
So you get both, and personally, I'm looking forward to learning from them and seeing their experience and seeing firsthand what they've been through and just getting better, because we're always learning and never reach the goal. So
for sure,
that's creative life.
No,
Always
I think we're in for a good time, just personally, and then I think professionally, yes, it puts us at the level that we want to be in order to execute this film as effectively as we possibly can. And of course, they're the people who have joined the team recently. Right. The people who have been on the team, all this time, of course, are myself and Orlando. Also, Kyle Jentz is our director of photography. He shot the original short, and that was 5 years ago. You wouldn't believe what Kyle is capable of doing now. I'm really looking forward to seeing what the shift is going to look like, because Kyle composes a beautiful frame. And just he does beautiful work. And then, of course, Brandon Jones, he is our sound designer. Brandon, when he did The Shift, was just coming off of his first feature film. It was a small horror film that was produced here in Fresno as well, and that I was a part of a little bit. But subsequent to The Shift and that film, he went on to work for Michael Bay, and also was one of the main sound designers on A Quiet Place. Brandon is extremely accomplished. A lot of people have complimented, how good the sound design is on The Shift, and there's a reason for that. It's because of Brandon, and Brandon is kind enough, even though he does not need to be on our film, does not need the work. In fact, if anything, it's more of a headache for him to have to pay attention to any kind of indie little film like ours. With the blockbusters that he's working on a regular basis, he has, however, because he is a man of faith as well and a friend. He is sticking with us, and he will be supervising the sound design on The Shift feature film as well. So, look, we've got the team. We're going to get the actors. What we don't have is the budget. What we don't have is the funding that we need in order to make this film. As soon as we get that, we're off to the races. We've got the script, too. We've talked about that tonight. So we had a goal tonight. We didn't quite hit it. That's okay. We're going to hit it soon. And we are grateful to you for joining us. Grateful, Orlando. Thank you for joining us as well. We're going to go ahead and bid you adieu. I know you've got to clock in here. Thank you so much for being here.
I just want to, no, thank you. I appreciate it. I just want to realize, I want to clarify. This is water, by the way. I know.
You don't have to clarify that.
All of my glasses and stuff are still in boxes, and I couldn't find my water bottle, so I brought the whole water jug, and I've been filling it up and drinking this throughout the whole ship presentation. So I'm not like, 5 drinks deep over here. I don't do that, but just in case.
Well,
I just thought we'd clarify.
We appreciate the clarification. Probably more important for you than for us, but I understand the need. I'd probably have done the same if I was drinking from a red Solo cup. All right, man. You take care.
All right. We'll catch you later.
We'll see you later. Bye.
All right. Bye.
All right. Now you're stuck with just me. I'm going to wrap this up for us. Thank you, everyone, for joining us tonight. I apologize for some of the freezing that was just happening with the audio and such. Turns out, I just heard from my wife, it was Violet watching the shift online that was messing everything up. She was streaming the shift, and that was slowing down our internet enough that it was causing all kinds of problems. I could see and hear Orlando just fine. You guys couldn't. But I was running Zoom and running, the streaming software, and then I was also trying to keep track of everybody on Facebook. I had to turn that off too. So I can't even see what you all are commenting right now, but I'll go ahead and check that out after this stream. So I apologize for the technical difficulties. It was literally Violet watching, my 9-year-old daughter watching the shift. That was the whole problem. She stopped. She's going to have to resume, though, because tomorrow night, Violet is our very special guest. This is maybe the most ill-advised thing I have done so far on these live streams, to actually invite my 9-year-old daughter to come and sit next to me and talk about the shift and give us her take on it. She crashed our party last week. I don't have any idea what she's going to say or do tomorrow. It's going to be an adventure either way. The other thing we're going to be doing tomorrow night is I'm finally going to do the director's commentary for the second half of the diner scene and give you all the secrets about how we shot that prayer scene and how all of that went down. Thank you so much, everybody, for joining us tonight. I am grateful to you. I'm grateful especially to those of you that blessed this project with your investment. That means so much. We have a long road ahead of us and a short amount of time to traverse that road. We believe that we can get there. We believe that we will get there. And we know that so many of you, especially our Shifty soldiers who have joined the Shift fan club on Facebook, that you are fighting with us to get this film in front of the right people who will be inspired to invest and to partner with us in that way. Our God is a fourth watch God. I don't say that lightly. I just said it tonally lightly, not intentional. I believe that. I believe that he comes when he is most needed so that we understand that it is him who is doing the thing. In this case, our thing is to have enough money to make this film, to get this message out to so many more people. We are grateful for you. We're grateful for your support. We're grateful for your faith. We're going to see you again tomorrow night at 6 p.m. Special guest Violet Heasley and director's commentary, and maybe we'll have some really good news. We'll see what happens in the next 24 hours and where we can get. And I thank you, and we'll see you later.